Hi, in this video I'm going to cover some of the things that we've changed in Timehub in tonight's release. So recently you will have seen a survey that we put out asking for feedback on a number of things. One of those was a potential change to the Daily Times screen. And the feedback we had from that survey was that 95% of people who responded would like us to change the Daily Times screen so that it showed all data, not just filtered data. So now when you go into Daily Times, you will see all data for all employees. In the past, you wouldn't have seen today. By default, it only showed days prior to the current day, and it only showed employees who had flags. The update that we've made now is that when you come into the Daily Times, it shows all employees, all data, regardless. So if I just open the filter, so we are now showing finished days. We're also showing days for employees who were not expected to work, and we are not highlighting any particular flag, so we're showing all information. So when I search now, I will get everything, whether the employee has worked or not. So what we found, and part of the reason we got the feedback was, depending on the way the filters were set, some employees were not appearing in this screen, and some of our clients were actually taking that as read that everyone was being displayed. So we figured it's easier to just display those employees that we need to display. In this case, it's all employees. So when I come in here, I can now see everything. Now, if you prefer to filter, all you do now is come into the filter option, and then you can select what it is you want to see. So if you're looking for people who have a particular flag setting, you can come into the drop down here and you can select if I'm only looking for employees who were expected to work and didn't, or I'm only looking for my red circles, which is the uneven clocks. I can simply select that, go search, and then I will see just the employees who meet that particular criteria. So we're now leaving it to you to determine what your criteria is, and you can either see everybody and work your way through everybody, or you can set the flags and filters as you want to use them. Now, if you prefer to have a filtered view where you only see certain things, bear in mind by doing that, then that's the restriction that you're putting in place, that's what you will see. But you can go in here now, and so as I say, if you wanted to not see today, then you simply untick this. If you didn't want to see employees who are not expected to work, you can untick that. You can choose whether you see notes, whether you see the actual times, and etc. You can also put in filters. You can also change your default view. So if you prefer, because you've only got a small number of staff, to see your information based on employee order rather than date order, you can set that as your default option. So by setting these options in here, if I go back to the defaults, I'm now seeing, as I say, everything in here. Now, if you prefer just to see a particular subset, then all you do is you click on the filter, you choose what your subset is. So for example, if I was only looking for employees in a couple of departments, I can set my departments, or if I wanted to see just records that had a particular flag, I can do that. So if I'm only looking for people who've got missing days completely and uneven clocks, I'll just clear those for now. What you do is you search that, which gives you the displayed data. And by doing this particular search, your report will now only report what you've got in this particular view. So I can still drill into the day and look at the information that I've got now based on that particular flag or filter setting. Now, if I want that to be my default in future, the simple way to do that is to click on this padlock up here, hold your mouse down, and when you do that, you can drag that icon and then put the icon anywhere you want it on your toolbar, and then you let go of the icon, and that's now your option. So when I come into Timehub in future, rather than going to the Daily Times menu, I simply click on my shortcut, and it will automatically run that query and load the filter data. Now, some of you will already be doing this where we've set restrictions on what you see or filters for you, and so now you'll see if I go back in here, that's my particular filter. Now, the other thing you can do within the context of this is if you wanted to have more than one filter, so that's one option, but I also want to do a different filter where I am, say, for example, filtering it by particular types of employees or departments or particular employees or particular cost centers, then I can do that search. And now I've got a different set of criteria, and then all I do is drag that one down onto my toolbar and let that go. I've now got two icons. And if you want to differentiate what those two icons or two shortcuts do, is you just right click on the icon, go to edit, change its name. So I'm just going to call that Timehub 2 for now. Save that. So now I've got two different sets of criteria. So by clicking on this one, I'll get one set of data displayed. So you'll notice this one comes up with all zeros on the screen. So that gives me one set. And if I click on this one here, I'll get a different data set based on the filter that I'm applying. So a different group of employees will be displayed, or a different sort order, or a different filter being applied. So you can have as many of these shortcuts on here as you wish, and each one can do something different. The important thing is that you name it so that it means something to you. So that's one of the changes we've made. So if we just come back to the default view for the daily times again, and just make sure I've got that there. So the other thing that we've done within the view, a common piece of feedback we had was that some of the flags seem to do the same thing. So in the past, we had a blue flag, which showed that an employee hadn't worked the number of hours expected. And we had a yellow flag or mustard flag, which indicated the employee hadn't worked the hours that they were rostered. Now, for most people, that was actually the same thing, because if someone doesn't work their rostered hours, then they're not going to work the number of hours they're expected. So based on that feedback, we've removed the blue flag. So now basically you will have a situation where if an employee's worked hours don't match their roster times, you'll get the yellow or mustard flag. If they don't work at all when they were expected to, then you'll get the red triangle. If the employees are not expected to work and they don't, then there is no flag, which is why there are no flags in this particular scenario. And then obviously the red circle is for the uneven clocks. Now, one thing to bear in mind, if you are filtering on circles, you may also want to include some of the other ones. Now, a common one that we have seen is the employee has clocked while on paid time off. So what causes that is an employee who is rostered in the calendar mode to be on annual leave, and they come to work, and then we end up with a double up, and the employee can't be on holiday and at work at the same time. So you may want to consider that. But bear in mind now, the filter is the best way that you've got to view the data in different groups, and you can sort it by department, for example. So again, this is a different variation of the same information, but I'm now grouping it by my admin, my factory, and my sales. So if you want to view the data that way, then you can, or by cost center, or by employee, or by date. So there's a lot of options there. So those are the main ones we've made in this particular area. The other thing we've done to speed up, and part of this is about speed and getting the system more usable and faster for you. When you go into the daily report and the daily report archive, in the past it used to load all of the information before you had an option to filter it. So we've changed that so that now you come in here. So if you're going into the archive report to search for something in particular, you can look for a particular employee. So for example, I could look for Steve, and I go search, and I'll get just Steve's data within the date range that I've selected, which is there. The other option you've got, for example, if you're looking to see who's had leave over a historical period, I might come in here and say, right, I'm interested in everyone who has had sick pay in this reporting period, and I want to look at that for the last month, and I search that, and I'll get a different set of criteria. So now it'll show me any employee who's had sick leave or had a sick leave tag, and what days of the week, when it was, who it was, etc. So the archive report is really useful for that point of view, but what we've done, as I've said, is we've made it so by default, when you click on these, you have the opportunity to enter the criteria that you want, that you are reporting on, rather than us just assuming that we know what you want. So check out these options here, have a play with showing the different bits of information, turning it on and off, and run the report and see how you go with that. So those are the main ones that we've made in this particular area. So hopefully that will speed up the process for you, and if nothing else, it will eliminate the scenario where an employee's data is not displayed because they're not meeting the filter criteria.